With criminal defense attorney Alex Sanchez. Paul, what is so fascinating to me is that El Chapo has always described himself as a simple farmer, but talking to Rolling Stone, he actually tells Sean Penn that I supplied more heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, and marijuana than anybody else in the world. To me, that is an admission. Will the U.S. government call Sean Penn to testify if he's successfully extradited here, or will the Mexican authorities try to call him as a witness if, in fact, the trial is held there? Paul, do you go?
That's a great question, and frankly, there's no other way to get a confession into evidence except by calling the person who heard the confession. Now, usually it's a cop in a precinct after the Miranda warnings, but here it's Sean Penn. So yes, Penn will have to be called as a witness to the confession, and most certainly U.S. authorities would use that testimony against him. It would be maybe the most important piece of evidence against El Chapo.
So, Alex, it's interesting because the U.S. has a number of extradition cases against El Chapo. He's wanted in California, Texas, New York, Illinois, Florida, Arizona. So how does bring us inside the Justice Department, how do they decide which case is truly the strongest so that no mistake is made with respect to this alleged drug kick?
Well, you're going to have prosecutors in each of the jurisdictions evaluating which case in their particular jurisdiction is the strongest, present that evidence to the Mexican authorities. But I wonder whether or not there is any case which could be properly prosecuted against El Chapo, and whether there's any case which could result in his extradition. Remember, Mexico has a lot of corrupt officials that were on the take in Mexico. We're talking about military people, we're talking about security officers, we're talking about government officials. These are the people you have to rely on if you're going to try to prosecute El Chapo or even try to extradite him. And now they're relying on two criminal brothers, the Flores brothers, and one wonders whether or not this is going to be enough for the governments to use to extradite him here when their hands are dirty and they're bloody. Why would you rely on people like them to extradite him or even to prosecute him?
And Sean Penn makes that point in the article, saying, look, Mexico has two presidents. One of them is the one that's elected, and the other one is El Chapo. And so one of the reasons the actress sort of made his favor was because she acknowledged, look, this guy's dirty. I get it, but at least he's honest about it. Paul, let me ask you, there's something called the SDN, which is the Specially Designated National. El Chapo is on that list, and effectively what it means in DOJ speak is if you're on that list and you engage with a known terrorist or fugitive or criminal, you can technically be charged if you benefit from this. It looks, if you read between the lines, that Sean Penn was very careful and most likely consulted a lawyer. Do you think he's at risk for simply meeting with El Chapo?
Well, this list, the SDN list, essentially is the U.S. listing terrorist-connected organizations and individuals and saying you can't, if you're an American citizen, do business with designated SDNs. It was used against Iran, for instance, for a long period of time, and other terrorist-designated nations. All right. El Chapo is on this list as an SDN. He's a terrorist. He's really been listed as that. If Sean Penn is doing business with a terrorist, he is violating U.S. law. But the question is, if he is interviewing and publishing in Rolling Stone, is that doing business or is that acting simply as a journalist in the operation of his profession? That's the argument.
And the whole aspect of First Amendment obviously comes in. So, Alex, you talk about the fact that the Mexican government is corrupt. There are a lot of people there who you don't know whether they're on the take or not on the take. So how do El Chapo's lawyers try to fight the extradition and try to essentially convince the U.S. government that no, there's no way he's going to come there?
First of all, they're going to contest the application made by the United States government. That's number one. And they're going to bring up information based upon their investigation that the information provided by the government and or informers has no value, or they themselves are on the take and they're not providing accurate information. And by the way, regarding this so-called interview with Sean Penn, it should be taken as an absolute joke. Sean Penn is an actor. The woman is an actor. This guy, El Chapo, has 1 million lawyers. Why would he go and make a public confession unless he's going to try to bid himself to get a part in a movie?
It looks like the authorities were always one step behind him, and who knows, Sean Penn may not be in favor with El Chapo's men right now. Paul Callan, Alex Sanchez, thank you so much for a fascinating conversation.
So much.
Really appreciate your insights.